A man runs through the streets, his heart racing. He calls out a woman's name, begging her not to leave. His voice carries desperation and a question that's been tormenting him for days. Why is she running from him? And more than that, who is she? He had never exchanged a single word with her, but every time he saw her, it felt like fate was pushing him in her direction. The woman just gives him a mysterious smile and keeps walking, as if she knows something he doesn't. Driven by impulse, he keeps insisting. He wants to understand why she keeps showing up in his dreams, always distant, always out of reach. He says he doesn't want to hurt her, that he's not a villain, just a guy trying to understand what's going on. But before he can get any answers, everything changes. The ground starts to fall apart, the crowd melts into distorted lights, and suddenly a floating panel appears in front of him, a system. He can barely believe it. Lines and numbers pop up in front of every person. The system reveals everything: name, weight, height, even absurd details about their bodies. It's like he's been given some kind of divine power or a digital curse. He reads the woman's name: Swing Bing, 50 kilograms, 1.65 meters. Then he looks at someone else: Lo Feng, 78 kilograms, body fat, protein levels, everything exposed as if the world were a living spreadsheet. Lu feels his body tense up. None of it makes sense. How did the system know so much? And why him? Maybe it was a gift, or maybe the beginning of something he was never supposed to see. Suddenly, the image starts to fade. The screen dissolves, and in the blink of an eye, he wakes up. The noise of the office pulls him back to reality. He had fallen asleep at his desk. His boss stares at him, a little annoyed, asking if he's okay. She says there's no point in hiding things. Sooner or later, the truth always comes out. Lu tries to answer, but when he looks up, he goes silent. The woman standing in front of him is stunning, and for a moment, he's absolutely sure he's seen her before, in his dreams.
Liu's boss steps closer with a worried look. She says he looked like he was having a nightmare. His body was sweating, and his face had gone pale. For a moment, she even thought about calling an ambulance. Liu tries to laugh it off, saying he's fine. He explains that he left the air conditioner on and it just got too warm. Nothing more than that. But his boss, still suspicious, crosses her arms and asks why he's there so early. After all, she was the one who gave him a few days off. Liu brushes it off, saying he had nothing to do at home and that maybe, if he got lucky, someone would show up wanting a private lesson. But when he looks around, he notices the silence. The gym is practically empty. He comments on it out loud, asking why a woman as beautiful as her is there alone, in a place that looks almost abandoned. She laughs, but her expression quickly shifts. She says business has been terrible. Few clients, 0 booked classes. And to make things worse, the place has been sinking ever since people were forbidden from showing up just to admire her sculpted body. Liu says, without really thinking, that plenty of guys would give anything to marry a woman like her. She laughs, but reminds him that most of those men were only interested in what they saw, not in who she actually was. Out of nowhere, she throws a towel in his face and tells him he talks too much and that sometimes it drives her crazy. She tells him to go take a shower. He's all sweaty. Before he walks into the locker room, she warns him to knock first since the sign on the door is broken, and she tells him to avoid asking unnecessary questions. Liu obeys. As the water starts to fall, he feels his body relax. The feeling is strange. He keeps thinking about that dream and the mysterious system that appeared in front of him. Was it really just his imagination? His name is Liu, recently graduated, full of plans, yet life still doesn't seem to have taken off.
He works as a personal trainer in that almost empty gym, trying to help his boss, Su Liang, keep the business alive. When they opened the place, it was an instant success, mostly because of her impressive looks, which caught everyone's attention. But the moment she set boundaries and pushed the gawkers away, the number of clients dropped. To make things worse, competitors started stealing the best instructors by offering more money. In less than 2 weeks, Liu was the only one left. Now he and Su Liang are trying to survive with what's left, a few loyal students, and a dream that seems to fade more each day. But deep inside, something tells him that this story, the system, the dreams, and the mysterious woman is far from over. Liu made a silent promise to himself. He wouldn't let his boss lose the gym. No matter what it took, he'd bring back the glory days of that place.
And at that exact moment, something strange happened. The system, the same one from his dreams, reacted. A notification appeared in front of his eyes, as if the world itself had heard his desire. And then everything changed. In the blink of an eye, Liu felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. When he opened his eyes, he was somewhere else, a completely different reality. He looked around, confused. It didn't feel like a dream. Everything was clear, real, almost tangible. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed behind him. A woman spoke with impeccable courtesy, as if she already knew him. Liu turned quickly, still on alert, trying to understand where he was and who she was. Standing in front of him was a young woman with an ethereal appearance, a serene smile, and eyes that radiated calm. She introduced herself as Lulu, his virtual assistant. She said he was safe, that he didn't need to fear anything, and that she was there to help him master the system. Liu tried to pull himself together and asked who she really was and how she appeared out of nowhere. Lulu answered patiently that everything would be explained at the right time, and that what mattered most now was for him to get ready. She said she would activate the system for him, but Liu, still lost, asked her to wait. He wanted to know where he was and what that world meant.
Before he could get any answers, Lulu began to fade, like mist dissolving into the air. Liu reached out, trying to stop her from disappearing, but it was too late. She disappeared completely, leaving behind only that strange silence and the feeling that something big was about to begin. In an instant, Liu opened his eyes and found himself back in the gym's locker room. He was sweating, his heart racing. The air felt different, as if he had actually been somewhere else. But before he could think any further, a woman's voice called out to him. A woman had walked into the locker room, asking if he was okay. Liu blinked a few times, trying to separate what was dream from what was real, because deep down, he already knew one thing. The system was real, and somehow, Lulu was still there, watching. A loud noise came from the entrance, startling Liu. He turned quickly, his heart still pounding. He realized he wasn't dreaming anymore. The system had activated again, right there, in the real world. Lines of data began appearing in front of his eyes, scanning the woman who had just entered the gym. The system identified her name, Huang Mei, 74 kilograms, eligible for the 104 exercise routine. Liu was left speechless. It was like he had received a superpower, a system capable of analyzing people's bodies and creating personalized workouts in seconds. While he was still trying to understand what he was seeing, the woman finished her workout and left the gym. Satisfied, Liu smiled with relief. His intuition had been right. Something inside him had told him to come back to Suliang's gym, and now everything was starting to make sense. A short time later, a friend of Huang Mei walked in. Calling out to her, she greeted her excitedly and said she wanted to talk, asking if she had liked the place. She was looking for a new gym and wanted to know if the personal trainer there, Liu, was actually good like people said. Huang praised the place, talked about the new equipment, and mentioned how professional Liu was. But before the conversation could continue, a woman who trained elsewhere cut in. She said she had worked there before and claimed that trainer Liu was inappropriate, even touching female clients in a way he shouldn't. The two friends looked at each other, shocked. Huang responded immediately, outraged, telling the woman to stop spreading lies. The supposed trainer fired back, asking why then she still hadn't lost weight, even after so long training with Liu. But Huang didn't let it get to her.
She said everybody has its own pace, and that Liu's work focused on health and real results, not empty promises. Her friend, convinced by the firm defense, decided to give the place a chance. So the two of them walked into the gym together, and Liu, now more confident with his new power, started building a personalized workout plan. He knew this was the beginning of something big. The system wasn't just a tool, it was the key to transforming the gym and maybe the future of everyone there. Wang Mei was furious. Her blood boiled as she remembered the words she heard at the other gym. The trainer there had insulted her and even humiliated her friend in front of everyone. Alone in front of the mirror, she took a deep breath and admitted what she didn't want to face. Part of it was her fault. The truth was that after spending so so much time at Su Liang's gym, her physical shape hadn't changed. The gym's reputation had dropped, and she felt responsible. Overwhelmed by frustration, she decided it was time to stop going there. Minutes later, she walked into the locker room and found Liu. She said she was thinking about quitting and that she had her reasons, but Liu, determined, didn't let her finish. He took a breath and made an unexpected offer. He wanted to train her for free. He said he believed in her and that this time he wanted to show real results. Wang was confused. She didn't know whether to laugh, thank him, or run away from the awkward moment. Liu assured her, with a sincere smile, that she would be surprised by what was coming, and added that soon she'd be proud to look at herself in the mirror. Despite her doubts, something in his voice convinced her. She decided to continue, at least for one more workout. Deep down, she also wanted to believe she could change. But the atmosphere shifted suddenly. Boss Su Liang, who had overheard part of the conversation, appeared with her arms crossed and an expression far from friendly. She wanted to know if Liu was trying to seduce Wang to sell private sessions. Liu rushed to explain, saying it wasn't like that at all, that he was genuinely trying to help her. He said he remembered a special fat-burning method and believed it would work perfectly for her. Su Liang raised a skeptical eyebrow and asked with irony what exactly had happened the last time Wang trained with him. She said that instead of losing weight, Wang had actually gained some. After all, the two of them were always going out to eat.
Liu felt embarrassed, but he answered firmly that this time would be different. He promised that with the new method, she would lose 1 kilogram per day. Su Liang sighed and shook her head. She said she didn't believe in miracles, especially not in Liu's crazy methods. And even without saying it out loud, her expression made it clear. If he failed again, it could be the final end of Su Liang Gym. Liu wanted to prove his point no matter what. He even agreed to a bet, just to show Su Liang he was right. She accepted the reason for the argument, but warned him that she was absolutely sure Wang Mei wouldn't lose weight with that workout. The trainer simply smiled. He already had a plan in mind and was willing to take the risk. In the middle of the conversation, Liu threw out a teasing challenge. If he won the bet, he wanted the boss to swim with him. And despite the boldness, he knew Su Liang always kept her promises. Deep down, he could barely hide his excitement. The idea of spending the whole day with her felt almost like a reward. Su Liang laughed at the proposal, but accepted without hesitation. Then, curious, she asked how he thought it was even possible for someone to lose 1 kilogram per day. It sounded completely unrealistic. That's when something strange happened. The system appeared out of nowhere, analyzing every detail of her body and giving Liu valuable information. It was as if he had gained a secret power that would help him prove he was right, and maybe even impress Su Liang in the process. Liu couldn't believe what he was seeing. It wasn't a dream or a hallucination. It was real, and with the help of that mysterious system, he felt like nothing was impossible. Soon, his boss would understand he had been right from the beginning. Determined, Liu gave Wang Mei the instructions: 50 jump rope reps, 80 leg raises, and 20 squats per set. And the catch? All of that 4 times. Wang was shocked, unable to believe that would actually work. But Liu assured her that if she followed everything properly, the weight would come off quickly. For him, the secret was keeping the body active and burning off excess water and fat. And so, with confidence and a new power in his hands, Liu began the challenge that could change everything. Boss Su Liang knew very well that losing 1 kilogram in 2 hours was a myth. In her mind, Liu had to be fooling himself. It was impossible to lose weight that fast. Even so, she felt a little sorry for him.
After all, he seemed to believe in his methods so much that it was almost admirable. Deep down, she thought that if Liu actually managed to get any result, the least she could do was keep her promise and go swimming with him as a reward. Liu checked the clock. 10 a.m., plenty of time left. He truly believed that by the end of the workout, Wang Mei would lose that 1 kilogram. An hour and a half later, the training area already looked like a battlefield. He pushed Mei Mei to her limit, never allowing a break. She was exhausted, her whole body aching. But strangely, she hadn't collapsed yet. The intensity of the workout was insane, and somehow it seemed to be working. Even so, Mei started thinking her trainer was a real monster. With every new set, she thought she wouldn't make it, but he always insisted, saying her body still hadn't reached its limit. When exhaustion finally hit full force, Liu decided to give her a break. He told her to wash up, change clothes, and then weigh herself. He wanted to confirm with precision whether the effort had been worth it. Mei did as he said, still out of breath, but with a strange sense of accomplishment. Despite the brutal workout, she felt lighter, as if her body really had changed a little in just one day. While she weighed herself, Boss Suliang showed up and looked at Liu with a slight smile. She asked if he really believed Wang Mei would lose a full kilogram. She even admitted that half a kilo might be possible, but a whole kilogram was borderline madness. Liu simply said that hope was the last thing to die. And in that moment, the system projected in his mind the name of an exercise routine called Training Complex number 104. He was intrigued, trying to remember where it came from. Boss Suliang looked at him curiously and said that if he truly asked him sincerely, she would swim with him. That's when Mei came back, a bit embarrassed, saying she hoped she hadn't kept them waiting too long. She explained she only took longer because she checked the weight carefully, and when she revealed the result, silence filled the room. Even Boss Suliang was completely shocked by what the scale showed. When Wang Mei returned, the result was simply unbelievable. She had lost 2.1 kilograms after just one training session. Compared to how she looked before, she almost seemed like a different person. Coach Liu looked at the scale, satisfied, and said that it wasn't just weight, it was real fat she had burned off. Mei was left speechless, unable to believe that was even possible. Meanwhile, Chief Suliang, who had doubted everything before, couldn't say a single word. L had done the impossible. In just a little over 2 hours, he helped Mei lose more than 1 kilo of fat without harming her body. A true gym miracle. Chief Suliang watched everything, impressed by Mei's happy smile. She knew that result would completely change the trainer's image, maybe even the entire gym. Sometime later, a friend of Mei showed up and was shocked to see her looking so different. It was as if the training had transformed not only her body, but also her confidence. Trainer L, noticing the woman's surprise, said he would help anyone who wanted to change. After all, that was his duty. Excited, the friend decided to sign up for the gym right away, getting a full year membership. Chief Suliang just watched, realizing that success was beginning to spread. Lei thanked Mei for inspiring other people and said that from that moment on, she would be the new face of the gym. Mei hugged him tightly, emotional, saying she would never forget what he had done for her. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, the focus shifted to the Linhai Hotel. There, journalists were talking about the new movie starring Lei, a talented dancer who had been gaining attention in the film industry. During an interview, they asked why the director had chosen her specifically for the lead role. Lakin answered calmly, saying the secret was discipline and that yoga kept her fit and balanced. But behind her smile, there was pain, literally. During dance training, her back began throbbing intensely, and every movement became a struggle. She tried to hide it, but her body was already showing signs that something was wrong. One night, while she was practicing alone, the pain became unbearable. Lakin collapsed onto the floor, completely drained. She knew that if news of her injury got out, her career could end right there. Shaking, she grabbed her phone and called Kate, her trusted friend, telling her everything. Worried about her situation, Kate asked if Trainer L might be able to help her. At that moment, the Suliang gym was quiet, almost silent, and Trainer L, known for always helping anyone who wanted to improve their body, was exactly the right person at the right time. Chief Suliang was sitting in front of the computer, focused on calculations. Lei walked over, curious, and asked what she was doing, since the gym hadn't been very busy lately. She said she was reviewing the shares and checking how much she owed him. After all, Lei had done a lot for the gym.
Surprised, he asked why she wanted to give him part of the shares. Suliang smiled and said it was just a way to make sure he wouldn't leave. A talent like his was rare. Then, jokingly, she asked if he would cry if she went to work at another gym full of beautiful women. Lu just laughed and said he would never do that, since he had a young and pretty pretty boss, and looking at anyone else would be pure insanity. But the light mood was interrupted when a woman walked into the room. Her name was Kate, and she introduced herself as the representative of Lee Ching-gi, the famous dancer. She explained that Ching-gi wanted to train there, but everything needed to be handled with complete confidentiality. Chief Su Liang agreed right away, saying they could guarantee the secrecy needed. A little while later, LeQuin Di walked in and greeted everyone with a simple good afternoon. Her voice was soft and elegant, even more charming than on screen. Lu, seeing her, felt a mix of respect and curiosity. He sensed something different about her, something beyond fame, and when the system activated, he understood why. Information appeared right in front of his eyes. Lee was suffering from lower back pain, and if she didn't get treatment soon, she could lose her ability to dance completely. Lucy grew serious. This wasn't a normal training session, it was a race against time. Suddenly, a familiar voice appeared inside the system. It was Lulu, his virtual assistant. The environment around him seemed frozen. Everything had stopped, as if time itself had simply ceased to exist. He looked around, confused, and asked Lulu what that meant. Calmly, she explained that he had been transported to a special space where time didn't move, a place reserved only for true masters of the system. Lucy, still trying to understand, wondered how far that place could take him. That special system, Lulu said, was perfect. After a few tests, he ended up choosing Master Lee as the first master of the new generation. Lucy was curious. It seemed like Lulu wanted to try out the system and asked what someone would need to pay to have something like that. Lulu answered without hesitation, saying it wasn't anything to worry about and that the ideal system wasn't even that powerful. She explained that when the owner helped other people, the system rewarded them with points, like its own kind of currency. These points could be exchanged in the system's internal shop, a place full of special and mysterious items.
She said the secret was simple, helping people achieve their dreams. In return, the system gave points, and with them, you could buy pretty much anything. Lulu also mentioned that if the owner wanted, they could even get special glasses to see those possibilities. Trainer Lies was amazed. It felt like something from another world. He imagined how much he could grow if he had access to something like that. Maybe he could even attract famous clients, like Lachindi, to his gym. Lulu simply smiled and assured him there were no tricks. She said her dream was to become a good trainer, give private lessons, and help real people, but admitted that sometimes she found everything a bit boring. Elle, curious, asked if she was talking about leading knights or martial artists, but the trainer didn't fully understand. Lulu then revealed that he was someone special, the owner of a unique system destined to become one of the great people in the world. Meanwhile, the tone of the conversation shifted. Liu greeted an older woman calmly, introducing himself as a personal trainer from Suliang Gym, saying he was happy to meet her. On the other side, Lee Singge, a famous actress and singer, was intrigued by how relaxed he was. People around her were excited, asking for autographs, but he didn't seem to care at all about her fame. Maybe that was what bothered her the most. The charm that always worked on everyone didn't work on him at all. Liu wasn't impressed, didn't flatter her, and simply treated her like a regular person. Xing grew thoughtful, trying to understand why that simple and calm trainer didn't seem even slightly affected by the presence of a star.
He asked Mrs. Lingyi to bring him a glass of water and mentioned that Trainer Liu would soon give the instructions, since they would be doing a one-on-one session. Lei Yingyi was still in shock. One man had completely ignored her, and the other was now treating her way too directly, with no formality at all. That shook her elegant posture, and for a moment she wondered what she had done wrong by simply showing up there. But before she could react, another trainer walked over, grabbed the water bottle from Suliang Sands, and said with a forced smile that Kayatin had prepared a special drink for Miss Lei Yingyi, and that it tasted much better. Then he threw the water in the trash as if it meant nothing. Right after that, the trainer bragged to the others, saying he was the personal fitness coach of the famous LE and that he needed to know every piece of equipment in the club for that reason. He then turned to Liu and asked who would be responsible if Lei got hurt during training, implying that maybe it was the actress's own fault for not taking care of herself. Liu soon found out through trainer Molly that the singer's body wasn't in good condition. Her muscles were weakened, and much of the strong appearance she showed came from cosmetic procedures. Liu was shocked, especially after learning that Molly had also undergone aesthetic prosthetic procedures and wasn't exactly the exemplary professional he pretended to be. During the conversation, Molly made a suspicious comment. He said someone could have hidden a camera in the gym to secretly film Lei and that he himself would review the footage. That made Liu lose his patience. He asked what exactly Molly meant by that, and the trainer just dodged the question, pretending to be innocent. Later, Molly hinted to Mrs. Su Liang that the gym had few clients because of Liu, as if he were hiding something from the rest of the team. Su Liang, already tired of the gossip, replied coldly that the low movement was none of his business and thought to herself that if it weren't for Vini, she would have already fired Molly. She knew that if the trainer kept acting like that, the gym, already small, would end up losing more than students. It would lose its reputation. Then Molly, still trying to look useful, suggested that Liang Yi should look for another gym where she could train with real professionals. The singer stayed quiet for a moment and started walking out, deciding not to cause trouble. If the environment was becoming that toxic, maybe it was better to find a calmer place to train. But before she crossed the door, trainer Li Su approached her and stopped her with a calm remark. If her lower back pain continued, the problem wasn't just in her muscles. They needed to investigate the root of the pain. Those simple and sincere words cut through the heavy atmosphere in the gym. For the first time, Liang Yi felt that someone truly cared about her health and not just her image. The problem really wasn't going away.
Ling Ji was surprised. How did he know that? No one besides her family knew about that injury. If it came to light, it could even put her career at risk. Mali, curious and suspicious, interrupted, asking what kind of back pain she was talking about. When he realized that Lil spoke with such certainty, the trainer understood that the problem had actually begun under his care, and that made him visibly uncomfortable. For 3 years, Lu Cindy had trained with him without ever receiving a warning about injuries. Now, in front of a stranger, she was finding out there was something wrong with her posture and muscles. Embarrassed, she asked Lil how he knew that and asked him to explain it better. That last sentence hit Mali hard. Angry, he grabbed Lil by the collar and glared at him, saying he had been the personal trainer of several stars and that he never made mistakes in his assessments. Lu, however, stayed in control. He firmly held Mali's hand, stopping him from continuing, and asked if he really doubted what he was hearing. He called him a liar and warned that if he kept acting like that, he would end up in serious trouble. Mali was stunned.
Lu's strength was overwhelming, and he could barely break free. Lu then confronted him fully, questioning how someone with kidney failure could call himself a top personal trainer. He said it was clear that Molly wasn't healthy himself. You only needed to look at his paleness and weakness. Molly tried to justify himself, saying he did face health issues, but that it didn't stop him from working. Lu, however, didn't back down. He said that this kind of carelessness with his own limits could end up harming other people too. Meanwhile, Lucindy watched everything in silence, impressed by the trainer's firmness. Lu thought to himself that it was rare for someone with so little experience to become a trainer for celebrities. And now there was another reason. Molly had lost his credibility by doubting someone who actually knew what he was doing. To end the argument, Lu proposed something straightforward. He asked Molly if he had the courage to let them review everything and take part in a quick 1-hour training session to test his techniques and burn fat. He wanted to see if Molly really knew what he was doing. The proposal made Molly nervous. Remembering that it had already been 6 months since his last intense workout, he realized he wasn't prepared to face someone so confident. Even Lucindy noticed it. The fear of getting hurt was no longer hers, but his. Lucindy realized something strange had been happening for a long time. Trainer Molly had always been by her side, correcting every movement and slowly earning her trust. If what Lu was saying was true, it meant Molly had been lying to her for years. The feeling of betrayal tightened in her chest. Lu didn't waste time with small talk. He told Molly to stop arguing and suggested a practical test. Molly should step up and prove he was prepared for the challenge. The proposal was simple and direct. A quick workout in front of everyone. The intention was clear: expose what was real and what was just a facade. Molly, visibly cornered, ended up leaving the gym. He tried to keep his posture, but his weakness was obvious.
Meanwhile, Al made it clear that he wanted the position of Lindy's trainer, not out of empty ambition, but because he believed he could truly help. The atmosphere grew tense. Mally realized he could lose not only his spot, but also the trust he had built. Lindy, shaken, apologized
for what happened and begged Al to train her, to help her heal what was limiting her. She spoke like someone looking for shelter after a storm, tired of appearances and ready for something real. Al answered that the work wasn't a miracle cure. It was exercise, and that although he wasn't a doctor, he could guide her through functional treatment with the right training. A few minutes later, Kate's representative brought water and messages of support. Kate was worried and wanted Lisingye to be careful, offering a special training program and asking her to let her know if Lisingye acted strange. Lisingye thanked her, but admitted she trusted Lu's professionalism. There was something that made her instincts react differently around him. Chief Suliang stepped in with authority. She warned that anyone who messed with Lisingye would be messing with her as well. Whoever dared harm her would lose their job. The warning acted like a shield, making it clear that in that place, respect was not optional. In the end, Lisingye felt she had traded a mask for honesty. The atmosphere had shifted. It wasn't about fame or appearance anymore. It was about fixing the root of the problem. And for the first time in a long while, she had someone willing to look past the mirror and actually do something. She had always been smarter than Lisingye, but she never dared provoke Chief Suliang. And in that instant, when Lu almost let something slip about it, Suliang quietly stepped on his foot to shut him up.
She had no interest in hearing comparisons, unnecessary comments, or anything involving another woman. Feeling a little awkward, Elle just said he was in pain and would attend class later. With that authoritative tone that made everyone straighten up immediately, Suliang warned him that if he even tried to flirt with her, she would make him end up just like Kate. A not-so-subtle reference to how the former trainer had been dismissed. Coincidentally, Kate herself showed up right then. Her representative approached Elle with a professional smile, saying that Lingji's muscles were strong and that she wanted private lessons with him. Before leaving, he dropped a teasing remark that Elle would never become someone like Kate. When the tension finally settled, Lil walked into the training room and thanked Li Jing for waiting. He said it was time to begin the therapeutic session. She, a bit nervous, wondered if her outfit was too revealing, but quickly reminded herself it was the same thing she always wore during training with Molly. There was no reason to feel embarrassed. Lil kept his focus, asking her to lie on her back, arms at her sides, and to trust the process. He said results would come soon, but everything depended on her own trust. Then he guided her to stand up, feet shoulder width apart, focusing on her breathing while lifting her hips slowly. As he directed her movements, Lil spoke softly, almost like a mantra, telling her she had potential, that she would overcome the pain and come back even stronger. His voice carried a strange calmness, as if he knew exactly what he was doing. Little by little, the pain in her lower back began to fade, and Lingji realized something was changing, not just in her body, but in her mind as well. Still, the embarrassment lingered. She could feel the others' eyes on her, even if no one said a word. Elle noticed her discomfort and, without breaking the rhythm, reassured her that she was doing great. He asked her to hold the position for 10 minutes. To her, it felt like an eternity. Her waist burned, her muscles trembled, but Lingji refused to give up. The pain mixed with determination, and for the first time she felt that this training wasn't just physical. It was a test of focus, of resilience.
Elle watched in silence, satisfied with her progress, while she stayed firm, fighting her own limits. Lingji started wondering how much time had passed. Her entire body burned, her muscles shook, as if they were on fire. The pain was so intense, she felt her waist might snap at any moment. When Elle finally glanced at the timer and said only 2 minutes had passed, she was completely shocked. 2 minutes! It felt like forever. Lingji wanted to quit right there. She had never felt anything this painful, not during her toughest shoots, nor her most exhausting choreographies. But trainer Lil approached calmly, placed a hand on her back, and spoke in a firm yet encouraging tone. There was a rule. If she stopped now, the pain would never be defeated. He asked her to think of all the suffering she had carried for years, whether she wanted to stay trapped in it or finally face what had been holding her back. He told her not to be afraid, promising he'd make sure nothing bad would happen. All she had to do was trust him. His words hit her deeply. Lingji took a deep breath, feeling determination spark again. Elle then asked her to relax the muscles in her waist, focus on her hips, and not rush. The secret was finding her own rhythm. He believed 100% in her talent. Even though his confidence felt strange, she continued. And then something unexpected happened. The sharp pain that
always pulsed in her lower back disappeared. It was as if her body had finally understood what to do. Watching every movement, Elle told her there were only 10 seconds left. He encouraged her, reminding her that she had already overcome countless challenges and that she was a true warrior. The actress could hardly believe what she was hearing. When he counted the final seconds, 5, then 3, she was at her absolute limit. The pain returned fiercely, but now it came mixed with a strange sense of triumph. In the last few seconds, her body could no longer endure, and Elle immediately told her to stop. He told her it was time to rest and asked if she was feeling all right. Lingji was exhausted, her face sweaty, her body trembling, but still conscious.
She tried to stand up to drink some water, and Elle quickly stopped her. He warned that getting up too fast could make her lose balance, but it was already too late. She leaned too far forward, staggered, and Lil rushed to catch her. "Careful," he said, trying to steady them both. For a moment, her world spun. Lingji lost her strength and nearly fainted. She only realized she had fallen when she felt the trainer's firm arms holding her up, and even in her weakened state, that sense of safety was enough for her to understand. This time, she was in the right hands. Lingji blushed with embarrassment when she realized she had fallen into the trainer's arms. Still dizzy, she asked if he was okay and whether he had gotten hurt during the fall. Elle only smiled and asked how her lower back felt. To both their surprise, she said she felt light, as if all the tension had vanished. It had been a long time since she felt that kind of relief. She called it a miracle and, excited, wanted to know what they would do next. She even joked that if she had met the trainer earlier, she would have gotten rid of the pain long ago. Elle then explained that the next step would be a massage to fully release the muscles in her lower back. Lisinji felt a bit shy about the idea, but she knew she trusted him. Since childhood, her family had always been strict and protective, and this was the first time she allowed a man to touch her like that. Not out of vanity, but out of respect and trust. Taking a deep breath, she let him continue. When the massage finally ended, the room fell silent for a few seconds. Lisinji slowly opened her eyes, looking lighter than ever. Even so, she didn't want it to be over. She asked if that was the end of the training and whether there would be more sessions so she could learn more. Elle smiled slightly, like someone who carries a secret, and calmly replied that this was only the beginning. Lisinji, still excited about the results of the session, said she had completed the intensive training, or at least that it was enough for today. She said she liked Lu's methods, but now wanted something more relaxing, asking for a special massage. Lu, keeping his calm tone, recommended that she drink some water, stand up, and walk slowly to loosen her muscles. She smiled, remembering perfectly everything he had taught her earlier. She didn't need him to repeat anything.
Soon after, she stepped onto the treadmill and started running, feeling her body light, lighter than it had felt in a long time. Meanwhile, Lu watched with clear satisfaction. Seeing Li Ting's progress was proof that his methods truly worked. She looked like a different person, confident, determined, and above all, finally free from the pain that had followed her for years. Lulu, the system that accompanied him, appeared with an almost proud expression and congratulated him. Thanks to the trainer's instructions, Li Ting had earned 12 perfect points, a high score within the system. With that, Lulu opened the virtual shop and displayed the available rewards. Lu became curious about a body shaper and other items, but Lulu explained that some had purchase limits, especially the so-called consumables like medicines that enhance the body. According to her, even the human body had its limits. Using those items too often would make their effects decrease over time. Lu thought about it. He wanted to buy everything he saw, but the 12 points weren't enough. He wondered if there was some way to split payments or advance points, like using a credit card. Lulu immediately refused, laughing. She said the system didn't work that way. To get more, he would have to continue training people and earn points through real effort. Even a little frustrated, Lu agreed. Lulu assured him that whenever he needed her, he just had
had to call mentally and she would appear to help. Back at the gym, Li Ting kept running on the treadmill with renewed energy, even humming happily as she ran. The back pain had completely disappeared, and for the first time in a long while, she felt truly alive. Li Ting's chronic pain had vanished entirely. When Chief Suliang saw her, she immediately noticed the good mood on her face and praised the results, saying Lu had really not disappointed. Li Ting thanked her, saying that both Lu and Suliang had been unexpected blessings in her life. Curious, the actress then asked the chief what she thought of Lu, wanting to know what kind of person he really was. Suliang looked a little confused by the question, not fully understanding what Tindi was trying to figure out. Still, she admitted that he was talented and had an unusual ability.
Lindy agreed right away, saying the trainer had a gift, something that deserved recognition, and a bigger platform. Su Liang remembered that Lu himself had mentioned something similar before, but wanted to confirm if the actress was implying she planned to lure him away from the gym.
They were in the same boat, and he wasn't the kind of person who abandoned friends when the tide rose. She looked at him seriously and said he thought he was being noble just for staying and helping, though deep down she seemed grateful. And then the atmosphere shifted completely. Two armed men suddenly burst into the gym. They said there had been some kind of mistake, but their eyes made it clear they weren't there for anything good. One of them mentioned something about the boy and the girl, wondering if the owner hadn't already taken care of things alone in the hallway. Chaos erupted instantly. In the middle of the confusion, Liu tried to shield Su Yang and ended up getting hurt. Later, he woke up in Linhai Hospital with the chief beside him, visibly shaken. She had personally taken him there and hadn't left his side for a second. When she saw his eyes finally open, she let out a breath of relief and with a mix of frustration and concern, told him he didn't need to scare her like that. Liu, still dazed, tried to remember what had happened. A sharp pain throbbed in his head as he asked what was going on. Su Yang explained what she knew, that he had been injured while trying to stop the attackers from hurting her. He touched his forehead, confused and hurting, trying to make sense of everything.
Shu arrived in a hurry, carrying some medicine, and asked impatiently how many times Su Liang planned to repeat the same explanation. Lu was practically recovered. It was just a superficial wound, and he would be fine soon. Shu was an old friend of Su Liang, her neighbor back in college, and she also worked on the same program. Curious as ever, she wanted to know what the real relationship was between the chief and trainer Lu. Su Liang, irritated, shut the topic down immediately, saying Shu shouldn't talk nonsense. She explained that Lu was just a trainer at the gym, nothing more. But Shu pressed on, asking why she seemed so worried about him then. Lu, who had been pretending to sleep, ended up hearing everything. When he sat up, he calmly said he hadn't seen Su Liang smile in a long time and was beginning to think she was overworking herself. Su Liang only looked away. Soon after, Shu returned with his clothes and explained where she had stored them. Lu thanked her, and when he picked up his special outfit, he explained that the fabric was more than just clothing. It was an inner armor, a type of protection passed down in his family. It had always been with him, shielding him from any attack. At that moment, Lulu, the system guiding him, appeared in Lu's mind, asking if he knew the real reason behind the attack at the gym. Lu said he had no idea, but he was curious to find out who had ordered it. A translucent screen appeared before him, like a floating hologram. Lulu asked him to pay close attention. The images revealed the raw truth. Another trainer from the gym had hired the thugs. The deal was brutal. They were supposed to break Lu's leg and arm in exchange for $1,000. Lu was in shock. He couldn't understand what he had done to deserve so much hatred. The video also showed the man promising to pay the rest of the money after the job was done, while the criminals assured him they could handle it. Unable to hide his anger and disappointment, Lu asked Lulu how she had gotten that information.
She explained that during the fight at the gym, she had extracted memory fragments from the attacker's blood, part of the system, an automatic protocol for defense and data collection. Elle was impressed. If it weren't for Lulu, he never would have discovered the betrayal. He took a deep breath, trying to control his fury, and quietly said that he owed his life to her. Lulu responded naturally, saying she was only fulfilling her role, protecting her master. Elle thanked Lulu for her kindness, saying he would never forget what she did. He only asked that if he ever needed help one day, she should come to him. Lil replied that it was his duty, but Lulu insisted she needed to go. The coach would take care of the troublemakers. While saying goodbye, Lu ended up speaking to himself, calling out to Lulu out loud. Schwink and Chief Suliang exchanged confused looks, thinking their friend had lost his mind. Suliang commented that maybe L's brain had been damaged and suggested sending him to a psychiatric hospital. Lu, of course, got irritated by that. Schwig told the chief to calm down and reminded him that L was recovering well but still needed time. Suliang apologized for exaggerating, thinking L's friend was more hurt than he really was, but he was soon reassured. Before leaving, Chief Suliang advised L to rest and not show up at the gym for a few days. A break was essential. L asked what would happen to her, if she would be alone, if it wouldn't be dangerous. He showed concern, but the chief assured him she knew how to take care of herself. Right after that, Suliang threw a tease, saying that a true friend shouldn't get involved with someone else's girlfriend. L was completely embarrassed and asked if he really looked like a jerk. Shortly after, Chief Liang showed up. Litsua asked him to leave the case in his hands. He would take care of the guilty ones himself and make sure everything was resolved. Then Suliang asked if Lisa really had the courage to take revenge on his enemies, warning that even with the fish scale armor, he was still in danger. Lu was confused by the name and asked how she knew about that. Suliang just smiled and explained that she called it that because his defense looked like fish scales. Then she said she needed to go, promising to visit him the next day. Before leaving, she murmured something enigmatic, that she would never let her enemies discover who she was, that she would live in the shadows, forgotten by a cruel family, but without erasing the memories of her past. L watched in silence, his heart tight. He felt that he and Suliang were like light and darkness, destined for opposite paths, but connected by something impossible to explain. Suliang might be surrounded by darkness, but her heart was loyal. She swore she would support L no matter what.
The next day, Lil was still lying in the hospital, lazy and annoyed because he couldn't train. He couldn't wait to get back to the gym and see the students again, especially the pretty ones. He started watching the news, but all he saw were celebrity gossip stories. He wondered why he was even reading that, thinking he would go crazy from boredom. Then a headline caught his attention. The famous actress Lei Yang was secretly dating a rich and handsome man. The internet was in chaos, full of speculation about the mysterious romance. He saw it and thought it was interesting, but he also remembered that Lei Yang had finished her training the day before and left in a hurry. For a moment, he wondered if something bad had happened to her, but he soon found out the truth. Lei Yang was actually dating his brother. People had gotten everything wrong. It was unbelievable how far reporters would go for a bit of attention. While he was thinking about that, the door to the room opened and a woman walked in wearing a mask and dark glasses. Liel recognized her immediately, even in disguise. It was Lei Yang. He greeted her, trying to hide his surprise, but she quickly asked him to keep his voice down. Liel was all bandaged up, looking like a rag doll. Even so, the doctors said he would be fine. Liang explained that she found out what had happened through Liang, and that he was the only one who knew she was there. She also said that Liu had defeated 2 thugs in the hospital hallway. Curious, she asked if he had gotten himself involved with the mafia boss, because if that were the case, more than 2 goons would have shown up. Liu just dodged the question. Worried, he asked if it wasn't dangerous for her to be there alone, but Liang answered firmly that she needed to see with her own eyes that he was okay. She also said she wouldn't let it slide. The ones responsible would pay for what they did. Liu tried to change the subject, joking that if she got hurt, who would take care of her back pain? But Liang couldn't think about anything else, and he found that funny. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. The atmosphere grew tense. Liang seemed to recognize the voice outside and quickly put her hand over Liu's mouth, asking for silence. The visitor insisted, saying he needed to talk and had a serious reason to be there. But Liang kept her hand over his mouth, eyes fixed on the door, making it clear no one could know she was there. The man outside wasn't anyone. He had a cold and threatening presence.
Li, the actress, sensed the danger and whispered to Liu not to make a sound. She said that guy wasn't naive and they needed to stay completely quiet. On the other side of the door, the stranger said he hadn't heard anyone respond. Then he walked in without hesitation. He moved through the room, looking around suspiciously. He called out for someone, but silence filled the air. He then fully opened the the door and came face to face with Liu, still lying down, trying to act calm. The man looked around, searching for something or someone, and for a moment, it seemed like he sensed another presence. The truth was that Li was hiding under the blanket. Liu held his breath, praying she wouldn't make the slightest sound. The stranger had a dark look, and Liu realized he was the kind of guy who solved things with violence. Li, nervous, whispered softly that if she was discovered, it would be a disaster. Liu told her, barely moving his lips, not to breathe too loudly. The tension was overwhelming. Every second felt like an eternity. The man took a few more steps, looked at Liu again, and let out a sigh. He apologized, saying he must have gone to the wrong room and didn't mean to bother him. Without waiting for an answer, he left and closed the door behind him. As soon as the latch clicked, Liang almost collapsed with relief. She thanked Liu for not giving her away and admitted she thought she was going to get caught. Liu tried to hide how nervous he was, but the scare had been intense, and the peace didn't last long. The door opened again, and this time it was the chief, Su Ling. She had come to visit Liu to check if the treatment was going well. As soon as she saw the two together, she raised an eyebrow and gave a slight teasing remark, telling them not to get distracted and to keep taking care of each other properly, preferably. Before she could leave, Liu tried to explain himself in a hurry, saying that everything was a misunderstanding, that he was the victim and that Liang had shown up there by coincidence. But judging by the look on the chief's face, it was clear she didn't believe a single word. Chief Su Liang crossed her arms and shot Liu a sharp look, saying he seemed to love playing the victim. She added that she had no idea what kind of little game he and Liang were trying to pull, but if that's what they wanted, they could go ahead.
El didn't know what to say. He tried to explain that he didn't like the situation and that everything had been an accident. He insisted that Liang could confirm it, that she wouldn't lie about what really happened. But Liang, clearly offended. The scene then shifts to 7 years earlier. Liang was still a young dreamer walking through a park with her brother, Zhou Meng. She was full of hope, dreaming of becoming a famous singer and actress. When they got close to a bridge, she asked her brother to take some pictures of her. She wanted to look like a star, so he took several photos from different angles, trying to capture every detail of his sister's beauty. Meanwhile, a limping dog appeared. Liang, who had always loved animals, approached carefully and noticed that it was hurt. She tried talking to it gently, saying it was very cute and that she wanted to help. The dog, however, started growling. For a moment, she thought it was just fear, but suddenly it lunged forward, furious, as if it wanted to attack her. Panic took over her. That's when someone intervened. Zhou Meng, her brother, reacted instinctively and kicked the dog, sending the animal flying several meters until it fell into the lake. He swore he would never let anyone or anything hurt his sister, but the scene was hard to watch. Liang was in shock, seeing the dog struggling in the water. She wanted to run and help it, but the people around just stared, not understanding what was happening. With her heart sinking, she asked her brother why he had done that, why he had hurt a defenseless animal. Zhou answered that he was only trying to protect her, and that to him, it was the right thing to do. Hao Men looked coldly at Liang and said it was just a stray dog, that there was no problem in taking the life of a mixed-breed animal.
According to him, she shouldn't waste compassion on something that wasn't even human. That sentence got stuck in her mind. Later, Li Ling told her friends that his full name was Wang Hao H. Ming, someone she had grown up with. Their families were close, and he had always shown that he liked her, but the feeling had never been mutual. Even so, he seemed incapable of staying away. When Li Ling went to Linhai to film a new movie, Hao Ming followed her without telling anyone. A reporter eventually found out and spread rumors about the two of them. She tried to smooth things over by saying that Hao Ming's brother was a good man and would never hurt her. But inside, she felt fear, a fear she couldn't explain. Su Liang, after hearing all that, asked if she really thought she could avoid Wang Meng for long. She wanted to know if Li Ying was lucky enough to escape him if he showed up again. Li Ying took a deep breath and said this time she wanted to end it, once and for all. She then asked Liu for a favor, to pretend to be her boyfriend for a while so Hao Meng would give up on her. In return, she would help him with another problem involving the mysterious Zhou. But Liu shook his head and said he couldn't keep up that farce. Li Ling was surprised and asked how he knew she was planning that. Liu replied with an ironic smile. He said that watching a few soap operas was enough
enough to understand that kind of plot. According to him, pretending to be someone's boyfriend always ended badly. Li Ling insisted, saying he couldn't know it would go wrong without trying. Maybe this time, the plan would work. Liu Su said it was pointless. No matter how fragile or charming she tried to look, that wouldn't solve the problem. Then, Lulu, the system, appeared in his mind and asked why he was hesitating so much to help. She said that woman needed him, and it wouldn't be fair to turn his back on her. Liu explained to Lulu that the actress's boyfriend was dangerous, a true killer, and he didn't want to get involved in that. He was afraid the man might end up hurting someone, maybe even their own coach, Su Li. Lulu, however, teased him, asking if he didn't want to unlock the perfect glasses system, and what that had to do with refusing a request for help. She explained that by helping others evolve, he could unlock rare items and strengthen his own protection. Then she added,
if Li managed to escape from Wang Hing, her brother would finally have the chance to find true love. It was all part of the system's development. In the end, Lulu made it clear, if he refused a request, he wouldn't earn anything in return. Liu Chu sighed, frustrated, yelled at the system, but eventually gave in. He accepted Li Xiang's request. He would help her break free from that dark man who refused to leave her alone. He was always following her, tracking her everywhere she went. Chief Su Yang and Li Xiang were confused by Lu's attitude, not understanding why he was so angry. After all, they hadn't done anything wrong. If he didn't want to participate, he could have simply refused. Still irritated, Liu questioned Lang about how she could act that way. She had ignored her own friend at the moment she needed help the most. Even so, the actress thanked her, saying that Liu was her best friend and that she trusted her completely. Liu felt excited. At that very moment, the powerful Mr. Wang Heming arrived at the hotel in a limousine. He met with Malik to discuss important matters. Wang wanted to know what Malik meant, who he was looking for, and demanded direct answers. He needed to know exactly who the enemy was. Malik told him everything he knew. The information was valuable. Wang had no idea that Miss Lang had been avoiding him, but Malik confirmed it was true. Impatient, Wang said he wasn't there to listen to nonsense, and that if the trainer didn't have something useful to say, he should just leave. Trying to stay calm, Malik said he knew about his past mistakes, but this time he was there to help. He spoke sincerely and told Wang Him that the reason Li Xing was avoiding him was Liu, that everything happening was because of that, and that the trainer had won the girl's heart. Malik knew he had to be careful with Liu. The trainer was dangerous and could interfere with Mr. Wang Hing's plans. Still, the businessman told Malik that he was welcome to return anytime and assured the trainer would be happy to cooperate with him in the future. Before they said goodbye, Wang made it clear that Malik could contact him whenever he needed anything. He said he would keep the communication open with no exceptions.
Right after that, Wang asked his assistant, Subu, whether he really believed Malik's words or if he thought it was all just made up. Subu laughed and replied that it was ridiculous. Only a fool would believe something like that. Even so, he admitted that Malik had managed to convince everyone, which was impressive on its own. Wang, however, still hesitated. He asked Subu if he had ever trusted Malik before, but eventually confessed that this time he preferred believing a trainer rather than risking ignoring a real threat. In his cold, methodical way, he said he would rather eliminate the wrong person than allow an enemy to slip away. Determined and tense, Wang didn't want to make any mistakes. He gripped his wine glass so tightly that it shattered in his hand, exposing how much pressure he was under. No matter how hard he tried to hide it, he knew there was a sliver of truth in what Malik had said. He then mentioned to Subu that Leo had gotten closer to Tindi and made it clear that there were people willing to ruin their lives. Subu replied that it was no surprise Tindi didn't like Leo, adding that if he were in the same situation, he would have stayed away too. Men as controlling as Wang always pushed those around them away. Wang argued that it was better to be independent than rely on others the way Subu did, insisting that in any conflict, the important thing was to judge everything objectively. Subu only sighed, realizing how much his boss hated being contradicted. Wang couldn't stand being corrected, and refused to accept that he might be wrong. Subu calmly replied that people who speak the truth often live in the shadows, and Wang was no exception. Meanwhile, far away from all that tension, actress Lee was resting comfortably in Lulu's friend's bed, completely unbothered. She trusted that her friend would find a way to protect her from Wang Mang. Later, Lee Di told Lindy it was already late and suggested she return to the hotel or at least get some rest, since the next day would be exhausting. Lindy explained that her boyfriend was hospitalized, which is why she didn't want to leave yet. She said she wanted to stay close to Lee because she felt a strong connection between them, but Lee was straightforward. He told Miss Shenang that everything between them was just acting, a role they needed to perform. He advised her to go back to the hotel and rest before things became even more complicated. He reassured her that he wouldn't get lost inside the hospital. Lindy, a bit annoyed, asked how many times he had begged her to call him Lee Di, and why he insisted on calling her Ms. Lindy in such a formal, weird way. Before he could reply, there was a knock on the door. The moment Lindy heard it open, she immediately knew it could only be Wang Hing. She quickly composed herself, ready to play her part. Lee, keeping his cool, told the visitor he could come in. Wang didn't waste time. He arrived clearly determined to settle every matter with the trainer, showing that he wasn't there for games. Lindy, playing her character perfectly, asked why he had shown up without warning. Wang replied that he had come to pick her up from the hotel, saying it was dangerous for her to stay out any longer. Lindy tried to justify herself, explaining that she was at the hospital taking care of her boyfriend Zhu, who had gotten hurt. She even mentioned that she had cooked porridge for him and spent 3 hours preparing it. But Lee, watching from the side, immediately noticed that the porridge looked like it had come straight from a cafe. He knew the actress was just holding on to her role. With a serious expression, Wang demanded to know who this man she was taking care of actually was. The tension rose, and Lee stepped into the conversation, saying that Wang seemed like a dangerous person and that keeping distance would be wiser. Right then, the system fired a warning at Lee. Wang Hing had acquired martial arts abilities, though the details were unclear. Lee was stunned, completely unaware that the man had any kind of combat training. The danger was on a whole different level. He wondered why the system was giving him this kind of information and what Wang was hiding that was so serious. When he asked Lulu why that notification appeared, she explained that the gap between him and Wang had grown immense in every way. Moments later, Wang looked straight at Lee and asked if he knew when Jingji was born. With a cold tone, he also wanted to know if Lee was her boyfriend. Wang Hing was obsessed with knowing everything about her, details only someone truly close would know. Her birthday, her favorite ice cream flavor, the color she liked to wear, even her favorite food. Lee froze. Yes, he liked Jingji, but he knew none of those things. Hearing those questions left him speechless. The room grew tense. The air felt heavy. Wang watched him in silence, analyzing every expression, every hesitation. It was clear he wasn't an ordinary man. There was something dark in his presence, as if he carried a hidden force or a dangerous secret.
Suddenly, Lee realized he couldn't move. His entire body felt locked in place, and no matter how hard he tried, nothing responded. Lindy, terrified, tried to help him and begged Wang to stop scaring him, but it seemed too late. Lee felt weak, cold sweat running down his face, unable to understand what had hit him. With an icy voice, Wang asked how a boyfriend could know absolutely nothing about the woman he claimed to love. He hinted that maybe another man would be more suitable for her. At that moment, Chief Suliang walked into the room. Her presence sliced through the heavy atmosphere like a blade. She stared straight at Wang and said he had no right to threaten anyone there. She declared that she would help Lu, who was injured, and that he needed rest, not arguments. Wang tried to respond, but Suliang stood her ground. She told him he wasn't welcome and demanded that he leave immediately. Reluctantly, and clearly displeased, Wang finally stepped out. Lindy, worried, wanted to stay by Lu's side, but Suliang insisted she go home, assuring her she would look after the trainer personally. The actress hesitated, staring at her unconscious friend, overwhelmed
overwhelmed with guilt and regret. When she finally stepped away, Suliang held Lu in her arms. He could barely open his eyes. She hugged him tightly, feeling just how weak he was. Before leaving, Lindy apologized over and over, promising she would do anything to protect him from now on. But Suliang, with a stern voice, asked her to leave him alone, that distance was necessary, and that sometimes protecting someone meant simply not coming back. She told her that the farther she stayed from Lu, the better it would be. That night, Lindy left the hospital without realizing what had truly happened to Lu.